Everything about this year has been different, and everything about Christmas is different to our usual routines. I've spent far more time at home, often recording and editing videos, trying to stay in touch with people through a variety of means. There have been none of the usual round of Christmas parties, and I didn't have a single invite to a nativity play or Christmas dinner at school. I did get to watch children from Friars perform on YouTube, which they did beautifully, but it was a strange experience to watch them on video instead of in person. Now, I'm not going to be critical at all, but when we think of the Christmas story for children, we think of stars and angels and animals and a cute baby. But as we reflect on today's reading, I want to suggest that there is another side to the Christmas story. Here we have young Mary finding out that she's pregnant. Now, there are a few things to bear in mind here. Mary was most likely something like 13 years old, as she was pledged in marriage but not married yet. First century Palestine was no place for a young unmarried woman to find herself pregnant. This was a society that largely saw women as property of fathers or husbands, and unmarried mothers were damaged property. As Mary hears the news that she is pregnant, she would know that one possibility for her is to be stoned to death, which was considered to be a legitimate punishment for sex outside of marriage, which would be the assumption if Mary was found to be pregnant. Other things you might like to bear in mind is that the land was under occupation by a brutal foreign power who would do things such as, make people travel from one place to another, even if they were pregnant, just for census purposes. And they had their own puppet rulers at the local level who were corrupt and prone to arbitrary acts of violence. Being a pregnant, unmarried girl in this harsh world is not going to be easy. But we have this wonderful encounter to reflect on. Greetings, favoured one, it begins. She wonders what kind of greeting this is, but makes no response yet. She is told not to be afraid, and that God is at work, and that she has found favour with God. We could ask ourselves whether Mary is picked to bear the Christ child because she is full of grace, or whether she is full of grace because she is picked to bear the Christ child. My suspicion is that it's more the latter, but you could take the opposite view. She was probably quite a remarkable young woman, but I also suspect that she was reasonably ordinary, and she is in a mess. Her cousin Elizabeth, who gets a mention here, is a bit different. She's a married woman who people thought was too old to have a child. Elizabeth's pregnancy is surprising, but Mary's is utterly scandalous. But what we are told here through the words of Gabriel is that in this mess, this potentially scandalous mess, and in all the difficulties to come, God is at work. And doesn't this get to the heart of the Christian message, the heart of the good news, that in this messy world, this unsatisfactory life, this precarious existence, God is at work. And God is drawing alongside us, has become one of us, dwells among us, so that we can be people who find favour with God. This is the good news of Christmas that no global pandemic can extinguish. And perhaps we can be inspired by Mary's humbling, loving obedience and say with her, "Here am I, the servant of God. Let it be done according to your word." Amen.